Hello, this is Dan Sigmund. We are going to be talking about the new rage this year in Dodge County and in Wisconsin because this touches all of Wisconsin. Yes, I live in Dodge County and we have our own problems with this, but this is affecting all counties, whether it be south of us, north of us, east of us, or west of us, obviously. We're going to talk about solar farms. Like I say, if you want to be politically correct, you say, I love solar farms. Well, is that really the answer? And I want everybody to understand that there are reasons why we should be doubting that this is a good idea. So when you see hundreds of acres of solar panels, do you see green? I mean, they say this is green energy. I see green when I see crops growing, not when I see all these dark solar panels all in a line going on and on and on and on. But why not, right? I say, why? Is it positive for the environment? We've been finding out that it isn't. I mean, solar panels on land have been around for 25 years already. But now there's a big push. Why? There's money. There is money for solar energy. The last stimulus from the federal government, $220 billion, there's a lot of solar money in there. So they're not doing it because they're conscientious about the planet or clean energy. They're doing it for the money. Follow the money. Now, is it positive for soil health? We'll say, of course not. Let's go see if the soil is healthier after we push all the subsoil into this topsoil. We'll mix them together here and there, and it's going to be better, right? And then we'll have all this big equipment driving around, compacting it. You know, it's not going to blow away then, right? That's not good for growing crops. And you have all these panels on top of all this land with all this toxic metals in it. Nothing's going to get in the soil, right? That's all micronutrients. There's a little bit of that stuff in the soil, but when you get too much, the plants say, I don't like this. So, is this good for property rights and property values, I should say? Well, I've talked to some people that love solar panels, but not next to me. I have seen it happen here in Dodge County. Land values cut almost in half if they're near a solar farm. We have one going up in the Myra-Brownsville area. Not good for property values. But they say it's good for us. Well, now we have all this money, tons of money being thrown at it, and I told the supervisors at Dodge County, watch out, 2023 is the year that Dodge County is going to see an influx of pressure on farmers, and you're going to see it in other counties too. They are out there. But they're not actually the companies building the solar farms. They're other companies that are grabbing up the land first, and farmers think it's a great deal, but then they're like the middleman, and they make an arrangement with the solar companies to build it. They're making money off of every acre that they pay or rent or lease from farmers. So they also say it's good to give them tax abatements. You know, it's like tax deferred sales tax, not sales, deferred property taxes on these to help them get going. Well, it's happened in wind farms. I watched a video where a wind farm actually had these tax deferred or abatements, and when it came time to start paying taxes, they say, hey, let's look at the value of this wind farm. We're only going to pay the tax on the present value, not on the value of when it was new. So all those tax dollars that everybody thought they were going to get from these projects were lost. Don't think if it happens to there, it won't happen for solar farms also. We have to be careful here. We have to be smart. What to do with the old panels? Well, just recycle them, right? Well, it's a tricky job. It costs 10 times more to recycle these panels, they say, than what the panel is worth in raw material before they're recycled. They can throw them in a landfill for $1. It's not going to happen unless someone comes up with a really good way of recycling them in the next 5 years or so. Well, It's hard to separate and purify the silicon and the silver. That's the main problem with recycling. They haven't found. I think the purifying part of it is the biggest part. So 25 years from now, they figure 78 million solar panels will be junk. It's the big push now to get them in everywhere, and in another 25 years, they have to either replace them or get rid of the farms altogether. What's going to happen with 78 million solar panels? Now, on a side note, you do know that China builds most all of these solar panels. And how do they build them? They build them using coal-fired manufacturing plants. Isn't that ironic? We want to get away from coal-fired everything, and so we're buying solar panels from China, who uses coal-fired manufacturing plants to provide us. And they take our money to buy their solar panels, to take their solar panels that we bought from them and put it on our land in the US of A, so that we can take land out of crop production and food production so that we can have green electricity. Sustainable? I don't think it really is sustainable on the long run at all. We are the fools. But it's the politically correct thing to do. Now, history of solar companies since 2010. I thought this was interesting. 75 to 100 companies since 2010, solar companies have been either gone bankrupt or have been sold out. So you have these solar companies sponsoring these big farms. You think that they're going to be around owning these solar farms in 25 to 35 years? And they're gone. Who's really going to be responsible for the decommissioning? Because they say, oh, we're going to just take the solar farms and put it back into crop production. Sounds easy. Sounds good. Does that work? No one has ever found out. I have farmland that was used to build roads. They stripped off the topsoil, took the gravel out, put the topsoil back on. It is not the same. Soil tilth is not there. You don't have drainage the way you used to have it. And now we're doing this on hundreds of acres. There's a solar farm in Arizona, Solana plant in Arizona, 2,000 acres, built in 2014, only 8 years ago, folks. Major toxic air pollution from this solar farm, many times over. The first 4 years was almost disastrous over there. That's clean green energy. That's solar farms, everybody. Nevada Solar Thermal Plant, 110 megawatts, built in 2015. Not that old either. Bankrupt in 4 years. This is the wave of the future, right? If you're against solar, you're a bad boy or a bad girl. Maybe we need some critical thinking here. Just because the federal government is throwing money at this doesn't mean it's a good idea. And guess whose money that is? So that Nevada solar plant still owes $425 million to the U.S. Department of Energy, who was kind enough to lend them the money for it. That was our money. That was taxpayer money. And we are told, hey, we can put solar panels up and you can farm under them. You can raise your sheep. Cows won't work. You can put cover crops in. You can manage them. Most solar farms do not have panels that are 15 to 20 feet in the air so you can drive under or between them. They're close to the ground. That's a bunch of BS too. They're lying to you. They don't want to build them up that high. That's more money. And why do they want the best land that's level? Less cost for infrastructure. If they would just take the marginal land, you know, the hills, the steep hills, and where it's too wet or too dry. No, they want the best land because the best farmland is the cheapest place to put up solar farms. This is all wrong. In New York, the New York Energy Research and Development Authority figured out when it comes time to take solar out and put farming back in, crop farming back in, they shouldn't even call solar farm a farm. It's not a farm. It'll cost $30,000 per megawatt to decommission a solar farm. So we have this 100 megawatt outfit going in by Lamira Brownsville. That's $3 million to decommission. Do you think that they have $3 million set in escrow somewhere? It'd be interesting to find out. And that's not the biggest one around. There's bigger ones too. There's a lot of money needed for decommissioning, and then it costs another, oh, I'll get to it. And I think it's $2,500 an acre. It's going to cost for the farmer to build that soil back up and get it to be where it needs to be for the next 3 to 5 years after that. This is an expensive deal. It isn't just take the panels out, start farming it again. Don't forget, they just bulldozed it level and didn't save the topsoil. You have to really build that back up again. So, just in Dodge County alone here, and I encourage you to take a look in your counties, we have Lamira with the 100 megawatt, we have Beaver Dam with 350 acres there going in, we have the town of Leroy, which I called them up like 8 months ago and they said, nothing's going on here. Well, all of a sudden there's 4 farmers that have gotten together and they're going to give hundreds of acres over to solar farms. It's happening everywhere. They're out there. I talked to solar farm land acquisition companies. They said 2023 is the year that they are here. They haven't even begun yet, and we have seen this happening. So after decommissioning, crop yield, 20 to 40% reduced for the next 3 to 5 years. It takes time to build this back up again, and I'm telling you, it will never be like it had been before. There's compaction, all this big equipment, not only to put it in, but to take all this stuff out again. They're driving lots of big equipment around to do so, and they drive everywhere to do it. There's topsoil mixed with subsoil, like I said before. There's trenching. They just rip through all this land to bury wires. Do you know how you're supposed to get rid of compaction? Deep, deep tillage to break up that hard pan. But guess what happens if you leave those supports in under the ground and you leave the wiring in under the ground? You can't do any deep tillage. You're going to be hooking that all over the place. It won't work. There's problems here, everybody. Now, the panels contain silver, lead, arsenic, cadmium, and aluminum. What a nice little smorgasbord. Hungry? That's what we're putting on all our land, or over all our land, and none of that's going to ever get, but it only takes a little bit to make a big difference for a plant. It's that micronutrient that can become toxic to plants. It's all fine at very low levels, but once it gets a little high, we have problems. So there's cost to moving everything, there's cost to correct the soil imbalances, and that $2,500 an acre I talked about, that was the number from 2017. We're in 2023. 6 years have gone by with inflation. Guess what that $2,500 number has done? This is not going to be a free meal for farmers or for us, because you know what else they found? Wherever these solar farms go in, the people around there, their electricity bill starts going up. Who's paying for all that out there? I hope you like your clean, green energy. Solar farms take prime farmland out of food production for 25 to 35 years, and this land will not recover very quickly. So, here we are in our county, Dodge County, we have farmland preservation plan. We want to preserve our farmland. Yet we violate the farmland preservation plan in 30 to 35 points, and we think it's okay. There is such hypocrisy in this. So, when you get hungry, you just go to a solar farm and see how much you can get there to eat. It isn't going to happen unless you really enjoy electricity. So we are trading food for electricity, and when you're hungry, it doesn't matter how much electricity you have at the flick of a switch. We have to look into the future here and say, what are we doing to ourselves? We're cutting ourselves off at the knees. Subsidies. Why is there pressure on solar now? We talked about all this money coming in. $50,000 per acre is the number, the average number of a subsidy to put in a solar farm. These companies are getting 50. So they offer a farmer part of that. And even if they offer a farmer a little bit of that, it's a lot to the farmer because it's tough farming out there right now. It has been a long time. But who is really laughing all the way to the bank? And we have our good, clean, green energy and all these solar panels all over the place in Wisconsin. What was that? Is it Indian River? I just remembered there was a big one that just went through last year there too. This is happening. Open up your eyes. Opportunists are like land brokers. They get this land, they get a hold of it, they're managing it, and then they go to the solar farm companies and make a bigger deal. And they aren't doing anything. So, these very generous subsidies that are going for solar are our taxpayer money. So we are being forced to pay out to get our farmland taken out of crop production so that we can have solar farms because it's the politically correct thing to do. How about survival? Just think about it. Without this free money, do you think all these solar farms would be going in? If they couldn't get all this subsidy money, nobody would be going around trying to find places to put solar farms in. It's all about the money, everybody. The money. Not about anything else. Just the money. And farmers are being taken for fools to think that they really are going to come out on the upper end here. So, what do we need? We need local control. In Wisconsin, the Public Service Commission takes over after it's a 100 megawatt farm or bigger. They take over all authority on that. Local control is gone. And if it's smaller than 100 megawatt, local control cannot be more restrictive than the Public Service Commission would be for the large ones. So you tell me how much control we really have. Is there anybody out there that wants to make a change here? We have to go to the legislature. We have to change this law. The Public Service Commission cannot be trusted with solar farms. Let them have all the other electric companies and even the wind farms. I mean, that's an overlay district. Even if you put a wind tower up, you are farming underneath it and around it. Just don't live too close because when they, you might be in trouble. But they're still farming the land. Solar farms, the whole kit and caboodle is taken out of production. They cannot be trusted. At the Lemira Brownsville solar farm, they had a public hearing, which they say they do for everything. They had so many responses to the public hearing, more than anywhere else, 10 times more than anywhere else. They didn't listen. They cannot be trusted. So we need to have many people, everybody out there who cares, to contact their legislators and say we need a change in the law here to protect our farmland. Do we want to protect our natural reserves here of farmland? I don't know. Do the legislators care? No, they don't. Do we care? I think we do, but you know what? We get frustrated. Seems like calls don't go anywhere, emails don't go anywhere. We can't give up. They want us to give up. We need to do something. We need to get together and take some action. 2023 will be a big year for all of southern Wisconsin for sure. They aren't messing with northern Wisconsin too much. Too many trees. They don't want to deal with that stuff. They want clear, open land. So, great pressure coming. All the counties. I know Dane County has a big one. Jefferson County has a big one already. Dodge County is getting all kinds of pressure. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's coming. It's not going away. So message me at my email, freeinwisconsin@hotmail.com. freeinwisconsin@hotmail.com if you can help with this effort here. We have to do something at the state level to change the law to get the Public Service Commission's fingers out of this so we can preserve our farmland and preserve our heritage in southern Wisconsin especially, and preserve our future. Because we have children and grandchildren coming up. What's going to happen? The land isn't going to be there like it should be. Talk about food shortages? We're asking for it. What should our action be? So consider these things, pass this around we want to get this around in Wisconsin. We need people to get together so that they can notice something at the state level and start making changes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see if we can actually make something happen here. Thank you.